Hi everyone, Lisa Soames-Peck from Spellbound Miniatures here. Welcome back to our Cricut Maker miniature Roombox series. In parts 1, 2 and 3 we cut the pieces, decorated them and learned how to use design space. You'll notice if you've been on Facebook or Instagram, I took this back wall that I'd wallpapered and I've since added some baseboards, coving, a fireplace and overmantel mirror. I've done separate videos on those, so you don't have to make them to go in this room box. I just wanted to add them to show you kind of how flexible and what you can do with a basic room box once you've got a few more skills under your belt. So that detaches. This is now fixed on and we'll be constructing it today. There's the frame from the previous episode that we painted, the two side pieces and also the floor. That's what we'll need today. And I've done something else with the floor which I've done another video for. I've debossed it with the debossing tool straight onto the Cricut chipboard, and then I've painted it and done a little dry brushing technique on it. Yeah, I think you can see that. So rather than have to fit a floor and cut it once we've glued it all the pieces together, we're going to we've made the floor as part of the flooring, as part of the floor, and we're going to build straight onto it. So that's a handy method if you do have the debossing tool. If not, you can fit your flooring afterwards or before, it's up to you. So we need this back piece first and the floor, and if you do the flooring and paint it, chipboard, kind of like any paper-based product or wood base, will warp. So I've had this pressed overnight. It's still slightly warped, so we need to sort of take care of that when we glue it. So I'm using my trusty gluing jig. Here is a sheet of metal, a piece of Teflon and some magnets, and I'll use those to sort of push the warped chipboard back into place while it glues. Now the flooring is 2mm either side shorter than this back piece. That allows for the width of the side pieces to go on here. So you'll need to centre the floor in the middle of this back piece and leave the 2mm gap either end, and then we will use the magnets, or if you've got a heavy weight, anything, to bring the floor up to there, and then the back sits on to the floor. So we put all the glue on this part here. So that's what we'll do next. I'm using tacky glue. I could use wood glue. So I'm going to put some weights at this end to be able to push the magnets against. Line this up. I'll get my magnets ready. And this won't go off straight away like super glue, so you'll have a little chance. I find it easier to sort of make sure you've got 2mm at this end and then bend that one up. Sorry, get my head out of the way. Like that. That's about 2mm, I think. So let's put the magnets over this side first, and then over there. Can you see that? Difficult to show you every angle. That'll get my head in the way. And then press this one down that way. Got another weight. Any weights you've got, stick them on somewhere. Doorbell. I'll go and get that and we'll leave this to dry. Hi, we're back again. That was just a postman. Okay, this is starting to go off now, so I think it's stable enough we can glue the next piece on, and that will be the side piece. And I explain it in the video about the baseboards, but you can see there, hopefully, that there's a gap. The 2mm gap that we left for the decorating, and then there's a little bit more of a gap because the baseboards are thicker, so you need to leave more of a gap, and then they all line up. Now, the side piece fits up to this edge of the back piece and down onto the floor, so like that. So we need to put the glue on this edge of the back and that, not that edge, sorry, that edge of the side. So the bottom of the side and the side of the back. Now ideally I should take this back piece off to glue it. I quite like it the way it's held down at the minute. It keeps it nice and square and stable. It doesn't put any stress on the joints. So I could aim my glue all along this edge. I think I'll do that. Do run the risk of making of the glue coming onto the wallpaper, so I'll make sure that I do it very sparingly. Enough to secure it, but not enough to squeeze out and make a horrible mark on the wallpaper. Get our trusty cocktail stick and smooth that out a bit. It doesn't matter if some glue squeezes out onto the Teflon sheet because it comes away very easily. Teflon is non-stick. And then we could just rub that down if it's squeezed out onto the back. Okay, and I need it on there and I need it on the floor. You can also construct this room box. You could put the side walls on first. I just like to have the back centered so that you've got the 2mm gap already there. Okay. So the side wall goes up to the side of the back and onto the floor. You can just wiggle it out of the way a little bit. So I'm going to secure this corner first with some tape. Just to hold it in place. Make sure this bottom edge is lined up, pushed in as much as it can be. And if there's a little gap here, we want to get a weight or a magnet and use those to push in the gap so that it meets the back. I don't know if you'll be able to see, there is a slight gap there. When I push that in, it tightens the gap up. Well, I love using these magnets. They just keep your hands free while you do something else. So check all around for any gaps. And if you haven't got magnets, you can always use masking tape. Just be careful when you take the masking tape off because chipboard is in layers, but if it does pull a layer away, stop and just glue that layer first with super glue and it should be fine. So we'll leave that to dry, go make a cup of tea, and I'll come back in a bit. Okay, so hopefully that's dried enough that we can move things around a bit. So I'll take all the magnets back off. We want to do the other side. I'm going to keep this corner taped up anyway, just for stability. Magnets are really strong. Some over there. Is that it? I think that's it. It will be stuck to a Teflon sheet, but that's fine, it easily comes away. So there we have the three sides. Got a piece of glue in there. Paper. So that's looking pretty good. So we want to now put this side on. And make sure you get, if you have put the skirting boards or the baseboards on, make sure they're on the bottom and line up. And again, this side goes up to the back and then on to the floor in exactly the same way. Floor's slightly bowed, so what I might do is put it that way up, and then I can weight down the floor to say, where's my big square weight gone? It's behind there, isn't it? On there, and then that will make that floor straight while this side is glued onto it. Hang on, that way around now. But it also bows that way, so I'll need some tape. But have a good play around. Always dry fit something. It's much easier to play around with it before you put the glue on. Then you put the glue on and realise something doesn't line up, or you need to change the orientation of it. So I'm happy with that corner. I'll tape that one, and then we'll worry about this side. And there's no bowing there. Okay, so I'm going to put the glue on the back. I just think that'll be easier if I lift that up. And then the glue on the bottom of the side panel. I just run my finger along that edge to push the glue back from that edge so it doesn't seep out. And we're going to go onto the floor and up to the edge of the back panel. Get that corner in first, down there. Up to there. Squeeze that on. And we can use our magnets to locate this end and hold that in place. And then push down on that one. And then I'll tape this corner first. And then we'll use our magnets on, or I could use this big piece down here. That's good. make sure that this top corner edge is flush so that when we want to put the front piece on, there's no, the side doesn't stick out any more than the bottom. Okay, that's all looking good. If there's any bits that need some extra support, tape those up as well. This kind of construction is quite a sort of glue it and wait day. That's nice if you've got things to get on with in the meantime. So we'll leave that to dry and we'll come back again. Okay, so that's now dry. We've got the 3 sides and the base, and you have a decision to make now. Depends on whether you'd like your Roombox to have an open front, i.e. you don't put any, I wouldn't suggest glass, but maybe plastic, acrylic, plexiglass in the front here to stop the dust getting in, or whether you want to leave it so that you can actually put your hand in and arrange furniture, and then you would glue the ceiling on top permanently, or you could leave the ceiling removable and glue the frame in place. So that's up to you. For this one, I'm going to be gluing the top on and this in place, so it's a really solid box, and if I want to arrange things in there, I can do. So whichever way you want to do that, you will need to decorate your ceiling before you glue it on, if you're going to do the way that I'm doing it, or if you're leaving it removable, you can decorate it whenever you like. But the next thing I'm going to do is put the frame in, and hopefully if you lined everything up square, it literally fits in nice. It's a little bit bowed there, nice and easily fits up to the coving and the skirting boards if you put them on, and can be glued in place. Ooh, the lighting's a bit harsh there. So that's what I'm going to do next. So the frame has glue on, let me show you which way is easier, the outside edges, because it sits on the floor and inside both of the sides. So we're going to put the glue on. And then remembering to get the detail on the frame if you've used that on the outside. So we're going to fit these 3 sides in, so I like to line it up with the bottom first, and then bring the sides out and in. Kind of need 2 pairs of hands at this point. And I'll tape the top corners, and then they can hold themselves. While I fix everything else. A little bit of bowing going on there, so we'll work our way around that. So those are nice. I'm going to address these bottom corners next. They kind of, actually they locate in and up to the skirting board, so that's good. There's a little bit of bowing here and a little bit there. So we want to, again, use the masking tape. And if you've got any gaps here, you might want to use some clamps and squeeze these sides on, or you could put it that way up and put some weights on the top, and then that would squeeze both of those together. And then make sure that this inside, I've actually got some glue on the inside there. It is brought out level with the edge, and I'll put a weight inside that because that's trying to bow inwards, so I'll use the weight to keep it bowing, or not keep it bowing outwards, but to bring it out in line. And just keep checking round everywhere. That's looking good. And we leave that to dry. Now, I don't know how you're going to light your Roombox if you want lights in it. I'm a really big fan of these, the battery lights. They have the battery in the base, so when you can switch them off or on, and you don't need to wire them in. And I've got some wall lights that I want to mount. Can I show you? I'll turn this round. Either side of my fireplace, sort of in the alcoves, or you could put them on the walls, and they have a magnetic little disc on the back, so with a sticky bit, so you stick that onto the wall and then you can put the light on but still have it removable if you need to change the battery. But the magnets that I use on this gluing jig are very strong ones. Got a name of them somewhere. Where's the other packet? I think it's neodymium. You can get them on Amazon, and they're actually, these little square ones are very good. I really hate to glue stuff down because I always think I'm going to change my mind. So you can notice that they will actually work through the chipboard, and if you see how strong they are, they will move that lamp. So you can put it on and then you can just move it into place on the inside and it will stay exactly where you want it to. So if you do want to wire, you don't have to worry about that until you've got a little bit more experience. Certainly for a Roombox, a great place, if you remember when we made the base, which we've yet to stick on, I do that at the end, it's a great place to hide any wiring or switches because it's hollow underneath. And then we get the other one. The little magnets that come with it aren't quite strong enough to go through the chipboard, so that's why I'm using these ones. And I think that's a really nice effect and really easy to do. And then if you thought, oh, I don't like them on that wall, I want to put a bookcase there, you can just take them off, put them over here. If you wanted to highlight something else. So I love these. So that's just something to think about, because the Roombox itself, there is the side wall window option, which I will show you in another video. Today we're just concentrating on building it. So we can have some sideways light coming in, or you could put a window wall on each side. But I specifically wanted this room because it's going to be a Christmas sort of based lounge room to be really cosy. So I've done no windows. So we're assuming that the wall or with the window and door on is this frame one. So I'll go and get the ceiling and I'll come back. Okay, so I hadn't painted my ceiling. I've stuck a piece of craft board on, again leaving the edge, a gap around the edge there. I just want a white ceiling so it will reflect the light inside, and we're going to glue it on top and it will just make a complete cube. So because this sits on top exactly like the floor sat underneath, we need to glue all these edges. Okay. I've got a slightly not so nice, oh, I don't know if you can see that edge. So that's going to the back on that one. And we literally just want to line this up squarely with all the edges and the corners. The front frame might be the only bit that needs some assistance, a bit tending to bow. So if you haven't got a turntable, put it on a piece of this Teflon sheet or something to help you spin it around, and then go round and check all the walls are sort of lined up first before you start pressing down, and anywhere that might need a little bit of assistance in terms of bowing. So I'm pretty happy with where everything's sitting. I'm going to start to tape these corners. And again, when you come to remove your tape, just be careful, it might try and lift the layers, so always pull the tape off, not sort of up against the layers but over the layers. And then if they do separate, good old super glue in between and press them down. I can see there's a little bit of a bow on this back wall. So I want to put a heavy weight on that now I've pulled it out. Just hold that wall in place while it dries. Need a heavier weight than that. Heavier weight again. I've got lots of weights. Okay, and work my way around to the front. If you get a corner that doesn't quite line up, the Cricut has a tolerance of, I think it's 1/4 of an inch, it might be slightly less than that, where the machine is not infallible and doesn't always cut exactly. It's pretty good. But if you do, you can always, once the glue's dried, take a piece of sandpaper or a file and smooth over any rough edges. And just check that frame front is not sort of bowing in or out particularly one way or the other. And then we'll leave that to set, and then once it's all dry I will go round with some super glue, and if I see any obvious gaps or any weaknesses I'll just put a little bead in. Super glue can dry shiny, so if you don't want that, if you're going to leave a natural craft or chipboard colour, you might not want to do that, but I am going to decorate this, so if there is any little bleed out of glue I will be painting over that. So we'll leave that to dry and come back in a bit. Okay, so that's dry now. I've left the tape on just to help keep it stabilised while we're moving and gluing. And the only thing left to do now is put the base on, if you're chosen to do that. So this is the base we made this earlier. I think it was part 3. Yeah, part 3. It's very simple. It's a square. You just need to make sure that you've got the same sort of gap around all the sides and edges and corners. So that's all we'll do. Put the glue on the edge of this and then glue that down. Okay, I forgot to switch the camera back on. I did glue around the edge and I put that on and I eyeballed it. You could measure it and mark it out in pencil if you wanted to. It's literally 1/4 of an inch inset all round. So I put that on, and then what I do is turn it over, and then if you think the floor's bowing a little so it might not push up to the base, put some weights inside on the floor and they will push the floor back down and make sure that it kind of is adhering to all the sides of the base. And then, just to make sure and prove to myself how strong this room box is, I like to put my slab of granite on the top, and that presses the whole room box down onto the base, and we leave that to dry. And then what I'm going to do is I will decorate the outside. I'm going to paint it white, put a little decor on there, and I'll show you the finished photo and video at the end of this video.